Hello, here we present many shocking true crime stories from real life, and this case is no exception. Let's see for ourselves. Some professions are tied to great risk, and when choosing a career one should think twice, otherwise you may not even live to finish your studies in your chosen field. Brooke Baker was born on April 24, 1978. She was very close to her brother and parents. Although her father and mother had no plans for higher education, Brooke showed a love for studying from the very beginning. She dreamed of leaving her small town in Lawrence County, Indiana. This place was very different from the usual suburbs where families raised children. It was considered quite dangerous. At that time, several murders had already occurred there which remained unsolved. Because of this, a grim saying arose: "If you want to get rid of someone and remain unpunished, you should do it in Lawrence." Despite the unfavourable environment, Brooke's family could not afford better housing. The Bakers struggled financially and had no high-paying jobs. Her parents took any work they could just to earn some money. From an early age, Brooke disliked this way of life. She wanted to help her loved ones and always dreamed of a more comfortable life. Already in school, she thought about a stable and respectable career. She often told everyone about her big plans. This determination impressed her best friend, Shauna. What stood out was that Brooke wasn't just talking, she was ready to act. She was active and eager to try everything new. In high school, for example, she started writing for the school newspaper. That's when she also began looking into journalism programs at local universities. Shauna and Brooke met thanks to this. Shauna read one of Brooke's articles, approached her, and said it was the best thing she had ever read. For Brooke, the first step to her dream career was earning a journalism degree. She applied to Vincennes University, located in the small town of Vincennes. She was accepted easily, which became a very happy moment. Her family and friends were thrilled with her success. Once at university, Brooke worked tirelessly. One of her goals was to be published in the campus newspaper, which was a full-fledged multimedia project for students. Shauna also enrolled in the same university, and their friendship continued. Both girls supported each other in journalism and gained teamwork experience. Brooke also stayed close with her family. Her younger brother Brown often visited her on campus, even though he was still in high school. He came frequently just to spend time with his sister. Brooke loved parties too. She had no trouble meeting people and could find common ground even with those who were nothing like her. Some of her close friends wondered how she managed this. She sometimes even had short flings with different guys, which she didn't see as a problem. She just believed she was looking around until she found the right one. When she first moved to the dorms, she shared a room with a young man named Jason. They quickly became friends, and something more began to spark between them until another boy, Steve, caught her attention. Steve's feelings for her grew into a relationship. However, their romance was unstable, full of breakups and reconciliations through her freshman year. Around this time, Brooke became a permanent editor at the student newspaper. Despite being only 18, her talent was recognized, and she became the youngest editor in the paper's history. Her journalistic style also began to take shape. Brooke preferred difficult, controversial topics which she skillfully revealed in her articles. Sometimes they were provocative, but for a journalist that was more of a strength than a flaw. Because she was focused on uncovering scandals and sensational stories, some students grew wary of her, suspecting she befriended people just to dig up information. But overall, this hardly affected her friendships. Still, some mocked her behind her back, saying she made everything up. When her second year began, it seemed Brooke had finally found a real scoop. She had been eager for this story since spring of 1997, when she first arrived on campus. Even then, She showed the instincts of an investigative journalist, always seeking the truth, sometimes underestimating the risks. That spring, she told colleagues she wanted to write something serious. She set her sights on a fraternity. This was an elite group of students, wealthy, smart and strong. Naturally, it was a closed club with many secrets and considerable influence on campus life. This intrigued her greatly. Perhaps this was why she often sought out guys socially. She wanted access to interesting stories. Brooke quickly realized this fraternity was like many others across the country. To join, students submitted applications, went through approval from members, and endured various tests or challenges. Sometimes harmless tasks escalated into something much darker. Brooke heard troubling rumors that girls were sometimes pressured into sex at fraternity parties. She suspected victims stayed silent out of fear of consequences. By spring 1997, she had already found several such girls who confided in her. They were terrified to speak out, but Brooke supported them and wanted to help. Even one of her professors, learning of her goal, encouraged her. Still, others warned her she was taking a serious risk and should be careful. Naturally, word of her investigation soon reached the fraternity. From then on, its members viewed her with suspicion and concern. Attitudes toward her worsened. Interestingly, her dorm neighbour Jason was actually a member of that very fraternity. He knew exactly what went on there. For Brooke, Jason seemed like a golden source. She tried to grow closer to him, hoping he'd take her to fraternity parties, her best chance at gathering information. That's how she learned the frat's favourite party night, Thursday. They organised the most large-scale events, which began in the evening and could continue until the morning. In August 1997, Brooke decided to carry out her plans. She invited Shona to join the company. In addition, there was a guy named Brian. The girl had met him shortly before these events. The girls were not interested in drinking and dancing. Mostly, they mingled with the party participants, asked their questions as journalists, and made notes in order to later put it all together into a full-fledged article. The friends did not suspect that all this time they were being closely watched. Several people from the fraternity were watching and listening to make sure the girls did not go too far in their investigation. Apparently something didn't suit them. After this party, Brooke's close friends began receiving threatening notes. All of them tried to warn her. This happened during the period when the girl had already gained enough independence. To everyone who worried about her, she declared that she could now move out from Jason and live on her own. Therefore she was not afraid of anything. She found an apartment right across from the Faculty of Journalism. At the same time, she received even more support from a married couple who were professors at this institution. But even after the move, they did not leave Brooke alone. She began receiving direct threats. She managed to keep herself together because the apartment belonged to a campus security officer. Back in July 1997, she had already approached him when she began receiving the first frightening notes. By this time, they were not only verbal but also coming by email. And once, when she was at a friend's house, a pickup truck full of guys pulled up. They all were calling out Brooke and threatening her. Her parents learned about this incident. The mother insisted that the daughter should move farther away. The woman also believed that the improvised investigation should be stopped. But Brooke was not going to retreat. The fraternity members openly threatened that if she didn't stop digging into them, she would die. In the fall of 1997, university classes began. Brooke had already moved into her new apartment. It seemed that now she could breathe with relief. She still had one more year left at the university, after which she planned to transfer somewhere to New York. She left the apartment only when she went to parties and other events. She worked a lot on articles during this period. She wanted to gain enough experience to become a famous journalist in the future. Brooke became deeply immersed in investigating an incident with one of the campus girls, who admitted that she had been assaulted and raped by a fraternity member. It was possible to find out her name. She agreed to meet to give an exclusive interview at the end of the second week of September. However, this meeting was no longer destined to take place. On September 7th, 1997, a call came to the Indiana State Police Department. On the other end of the line was Brown, the girl's brother, who with a trembling voice said that he had found his sister's bloody body in the house where she lived. Several police officers arrived at the scene. For Brown, it was a normal thing to go to his sister's apartment. He often visited her on weekends and even during the week without reason, just to talk. He was well known to all of the girl's close friends. The young man said that around 8 p.m. the day before, he had met his sister's classmate, who said she could not reach Brooke. She gave Brown some documents, and he promised to hand them to his sister himself. When he came to her apartment and knocked on the door, no one opened. But he thought he heard something inside, so he used a spare key and went in. It was dark and quiet. Brown called his sister by name, but instead of her voice he heard footsteps as if someone was running away. He noticed the sound of water in the bathroom and decided that his sister was taking a shower. He called her again, but got no answer. The door was ajar. He entered and saw a towel scattered there and water on the floor. The sister wasn't there. Then he went further and entered her bedroom, where he saw Brooke. The naked girl was lying on her back on the mattress. Her eyes were wide open and her face was frozen in a grimace of horror. Frightened, the brother immediately turned to law enforcement. The police quickly began investigating. The girl had been dead for quite some time, judging by the rigor mortis. Forensic experts immediately noted that there were no signs of forced entry. In the bathroom they found not only a towel but also a bottle of bleach, with almost half of it missing. In the officer's opinion, all this was used to clean up the crime scene. Under the sink, filled with soapy water, lay a knife, which turned out to have blood on it. They found scissors and several other stained items. All of these could have been used in the murder. The fatal injuries for the girl were chest wounds. The blows were delivered with such force that the blade went all the way through, damaging several ribs. There were also signs of rape. DNA materials were carefully collected. On the wall, bloodstains were found, probably left during the struggle. Brooke's body was taken to the coroner's office for an autopsy. Meanwhile, investigators interviewed her close circle, who had already gathered near her home. Some wanted to go inside and see everything with their own eyes, especially her parents, but no one was allowed in. When they spoke with the brother who had found the body, Brown immediately told them about the girl's boyfriend, Steve Hoffman, who became the prime suspect. The police relied on statistics, according to which most victims in the US are killed by someone close to them. Neighbours were interviewed. The entire journalism faculty was shocked. Many girls, fearing for their safety, even stopped leaving their homes in the evenings. The most purchased item became pepper spray. Detectives began reconstructing the chronology of events. On Saturday, September 6, 1997, Brooke had a very busy day. She visited several places on campus and beyond. She met Steve at 3 p.m. They spent several hours together, including going to a local fast food restaurant. By 7 p.m., another guy named Biff Elite joined them. He was a friend of the girl. They played softball together, went to a small concert of a local band, about which Brooke was going to write an article. Around 9 p.m., the girl was at a party and met another acquaintance named Tommy. According to him, they parted ways after 10:30 p.m. But around 12:30 a.m., Brooke was at another party, which she left only late at night with her acquaintance Brian Johnson. According to witnesses, she was heading to her apartment. That was the last time she was seen alive. According to the coroner, at least 19 hours had passed since the girl's death before her brother found her body. The autopsy confirmed that she suffered a brutal attack. She had dozens of bruises and 13 stab wounds. Some of them were inflicted in the chest and some in the back. Both lungs were punctured. The student was raped and strangled. The murder weapon was recognized as a steak knife found under the sink in the bathroom. DNA testing confirmed that it had the girl's blood and even tissue particles. Biological fluids found in the body were also tested after profiling, but no matches were found in the database. After this, police met with Steve. He denied having a serious relationship with Brooke, since the girl might have been seeing several guys at the same time. He wasn't particularly bothered by it. He just liked spending time with her. All this indirectly strengthened the suspicion of his involvement, since a love triangle could have been the motive. But Steve had a solid alibi. Then detectives turned their attention to Tommy. However, the young man himself came to the police station to tell everything he knew, even before they started looking for him. He was worried and admitted that he had engaged in intimacy with the girl that evening by mutual consent. Tommy's problem was the lack of a reliable alibi. The first person who confirmed his words met him only after 3 a.m. Tommy willingly provided police with a DNA sample. Brooke's mother gave interesting information. The security officer who rented housing to her daughter initially seemed like a very pleasant man. Later, she began to doubt that. After a couple of months of renting, she began to feel uncomfortable around him. The man rented only to young women and had free access to the property. Shona also confirmed this concern. The girl had heard her friend worrying that this man wanted intimacy with her. Once he even offered Brooke free rent in exchange for sex. After talking with several other girls who had rented from him in the past, many confirmed that the landlord made indecent proposals. However, when law enforcement spoke with him, he was shocked by the accusations and claimed that nothing like that had ever happened. The man agreed to provide his DNA sample and even successfully passed a polygraph test. But when the results came back, it turned out that none of the considered young men, neither Steve nor Tommy, nor even Brooke's landlord, matched the attacker's DNA profile. Nevertheless, the security guard was not excluded, since he did not have a confirmed alibi. Detectives checked around 50 potential suspects, mostly among students of the campus, including fraternity members, but they could not find a single match. At the same time, the girl's family became more active. They raised questions about security in Lawrence County. Along with images of their deceased daughter, they posted photos of people who had died in previous years. This developed into regular meetings of an initiative group where the work of law enforcement and neighborhood safety was discussed. However, this also had positive consequences. The circle of people who learned about the attack expanded, and many wanted to help the investigation. One such person was a girl named Deborah. She came to the police station and was the first to talk about threats that Brooke had received. Investigators traced the emails and tracked down 2 young men from the university fraternity. But when their DNA was compared to the samples collected from the crime scene, they did not match. There was even an investigation into a rape case that Brooke had written about, but it turned out to be greatly exaggerated. Brooke had been caught in the middle of rumours which she had taken too seriously, believing them to be a real crime. This revealed one trait of the aspiring journalist. She loved to embellish the truth to create a sensation and attract maximum attention. Detectives checked even Brooke's drafts, in which there were hundreds of notes. They interviewed the girl who was supposed to talk about the rape in an interview, but it turned out she had been very drunk at the time. She admitted that the encounter was consensual. By then, detectives realized Brooke had tried to dramatize the story to make it more impressive. Hundreds of young men were checked, including fraternity members, but none matched the attacker's DNA. The investigation had reached a dead end. Police spoke with more than 500 people and still found no match. Brooke's family, however, continued to hope the circumstances of her death would be uncovered. The situation changed 2 years later. On July 5th, 1999, early in the morning, police were called to an apartment located 7 blocks from Brooke's. It was rented by another university student, Erica Norman. Erica was born on November 13th, 1977, into a family with 3 children. She was very athletic. She played softball professionally, did gymnastics, and was part of a theatre group. By 1999, she was 21 years old, educated and full of ambition. Her family lived 150 kilometers away while she attended college to earn her degree. She was described as kind, cheerful and positive. After graduating, she dreamed of moving to Honduras to help people and continue her studies there. Specializing in languages, she believed living in another country would give her greater opportunities. On July 5th, 1999, a neighbor in her apartment building reported strange noises coming from Erica's unit. He heard water running loudly for a long time, which seemed suspicious. When no one answered his knocks, he tried the door. It wasn't locked. He stepped inside and found the bathroom faucets running at full force. Fearing a flood, he shut them off. Then he noticed blood on the wall. Alarmed, he immediately called the police. Officers found signs of a violent struggle inside, but Erica herself was missing. The scene bore disturbing similarities to the crime scene from Brooke's case 2 years earlier. Detectives began questioning Erica's friends and colleagues to piece together her last known movements. She had last been seen on July 3rd at a party with friends. She left early, saying she wanted to rest. The last person to see her alive was Brian Jones, a co-worker at a local restaurant. Brian admitted he had walked Erica home and even went inside with her. According to him, she fell asleep watching a movie, so he left, covering her with a blanket before going out. He seemed cooperative and did not appear suspicious at first. Still, detectives dug deeper into his background. They discovered that one of Brian's former roommates was Jason, the same man who had once lived with Brooke. Investigators then learned that in the fall of 1997, when Brooke was murdered, Brian had also lived in the area. The most suspicious detail: Brian left town immediately after Brooke's body was found. His employer later confirmed he had been fired on September 10, 1997, for not showing up to work for several days. Brooke's body had been discovered on September 7th. This greatly strengthened suspicions against him. Although Erica's body was still missing, Brian's cooperation started to crack. He even handed over the clothes he wore the night Erica vanished. On his shoes, police found small drops of blood. DNA analysis confirmed it was Erica's. Further testing on his clothes revealed DNA that matched the samples collected from Brooke's 1997 murder. The evidence was conclusive. Both women had been killed by the same man, and that man was Brian Jones. On July 13, 1999, Brian was arrested for the murder of 19-year-old Brooke Baker. After this, he immediately stopped cooperating and demanded a lawyer. Still with the evidence, investigators could reconstruct the events. Brooke's family, devastated, finally saw justice taking shape. Erica's body, however, was still missing. Under pressure, Brian eventually admitted to killing Erica and gave a rough location where her remains might be found. At first, police could not locate them. Then, on July 20th, a farmer in Illinois discovered a decomposed human body in his cornfield. Nearby was a wallet containing Erica's driver's license. Dental records confirmed it was her. With this discovery, police secured more evidence, including traces of her blood in Brian's car. By December 2000, Brian faced charges for both murders. At trial, his lawyer tried to argue that Brooke's encounter had been consensual, but his lies fell apart. After 5 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty on all counts. He had already been sentenced to 60 years for Erica's murder. Now he received life imprisonment without parole for Brooke's. After that, the string of campus murders stopped.